Let's talk about the basics of IVR in Asterisk. IVR stands for Interactive Voice Response, which is an industry term that simply means a system for allowing input from callers through speech or DTMF detection. This technology is most often applied to automated attendant functionality. This is a menu system used to handle incoming calls for high call volume systems such as call centers, where the user is prompted with a message and given options to choose from. These options might lead to ringing a person or a call queue, or may in turn lead to further prompting and then input from the caller. This module will show you some of the tools and techniques for setting this up. Surely you've navigated interactive menus in the past, with messages like,
"Thank you for calling Digium, the Asterisk company. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it at any time."
This capability is not configured in Asterisk in a specific or rigid form. There is no IVR.conf. As is the case with other call routing in Asterisk, we will configure this in the dialplan. There are many applications and functions which can be used in an IVR. In the rest of this module, we'll discuss the very basics to get your Asterisk auto attendant answering calls in no time. We will be working with this group of extensions as our example auto attendant. Remember, this is intended to handle incoming calls to our system. The from external context redirects to our auto attendant, which we will call AA_menu. Inbound trunks are configured in the configuration file for the technology the trunk uses. Remember that the context parameter defines where in the dial plan incoming calls will be routed, so make sure the context name is set appropriately. Here we have a trunk named inbound trunk, set to the from external context. We're showing a simple configuration example for a typical analog line. Don't focus on the specific options we've set in this configuration. We'll discuss all of these in detail in the analog and digital connectivity chapter. We'll also see how to configure the channel drivers for SIP and EECs in upcoming chapters devoted to each. The highlighted extension is the first step of our IVR. Asterisk will answer the call and play a sound file to the caller that provides instructions and various menu options. For a clearer understanding of what's going on, let's take a moment to listen to the prompt we've created for our auto attendant.
"Thank you for calling. If you know the extension of the party you wish to reach, dial it at any time. Press 1 for sales. Press 2 for technical support. Press 3 to access our company directory. Press 4 to speak to the operator."
The various extensions here represent the valid extensions that a user can enter. These correspond to the options specified in our audio message, such as pressing 1 for sales or 2 for support. We've also included the internal user's context, which contains extensions that dial to internal endpoints. This will allow the caller to dial the extension of the person they're trying to reach if they know it. The next extension handles invalid input, that is, input that does not match any of the available menu options. Finally, we also have an extension to handle timeouts, when a user takes too long to enter a number when prompted. Let's take a look at our first step, prompting the caller, in more detail. After we answer the channel, we move on to the background application. It plays the sound file specified, much like the playback application does, but it also listens for DTMF input from the caller. The DTMF that Asterisk detects will be interpreted as routing information. When enough digits have been input that Asterisk can unambiguously match them to an extension in the same context, the call will be directed to that matching extension. The caller can begin to enter digits at any time after the background application starts playing its file. As soon as the first DTMF digit is received, the audio playback is interrupted. If no digits are pressed by the time the audio ends, the call will exit the background application and move on to the next priority. We invoke the waitExtend application to give the caller additional time to provide input. This application waits silently, listening for DTMF input for the number of seconds specified as its argument. Just like the background application, waitExtend directs the call to the matching extension in the same context if it gets enough digits that it can unambiguously match. Like with most extensions, we call the hangup application as the last priority. Whether the caller has entered a DTMF digit by interrupting the menu prompt played by the background application, or during the waitExtend application, Asterisk passes the call to the extension in the current working context that matches the DTMF digit or digits. If the caller enters a 1 or a 2, the queue application will be invoked, and the caller will wait their turn to be distributed to a member in the specified queue. The directory application, providing dial by name functionality, will be used if the caller selects menu option 3. Pressing 4 will cause Asterisk to dial an internal endpoint where the operator can be reached. Of course, this phone will actually need to be set up in sip.conf to work. The internal user's context is also included, which will allow the caller to dial directly to one of the extensions, like 6001 or 6002, that we have set aside for dialing other users. There's no rule that IVR menus have to have single-digit extensions, or that all the menu options need to be the same length. The same rules on extension naming apply here as elsewhere. If the caller enters any digit that does not match an extension in this context, the call will be routed to the I, or invalid extension. This is a special extension reserved by Asterisk for this very function, and we may use this extension to handle the call how we see fit in the case of an invalid entry. Common uses are to repeat the menu and give the user another chance to select a valid option, or to just hang up the call. In this example, we play back a message informing the customer it was an invalid entry, and then we let the GoTo application route the call back to the main menu prompt. GoTo directs the call to another location in the dial plan by jumping to a specified context, extension, and priority. If the caller waits too long to enter a digit, the call will be routed to the T, or timeout special extension. Here we play back a message informing the caller that we did not understand the response, and once again return to the main menu prompt. In this module, we explain the basic architecture for auto attendant, or IVR, functionality in the Asterisk dial plan. We've shown how to play a menu, listen for DTMF input, and route to extensions. We've also introduced the invalid and timeout special extensions along with the GoTo application. In the following modules, we'll discuss these concepts in greater detail. In the next chapter, we'll explain timeouts.